So 3.2.3 local area networks. So first let's talk about the basics, network basics. So 3.2.3 network basics. अब देखें network basics जो है, that means it is a collection of computers in a network. A computer network is a collection of computing devices that are connected in various ways to communicate and share resources. Like when we email, when we IM, instant message, WhatsApp, and when we browse web pages, all rely on communication that occurs across any underlying computer network. We use networks to share both intangible resources such as files and tangible resources such as printers. We download softwares that is intangible. We basically scan. So scanners are over a network because we also connect scanners to the computer, so that becomes a part of the network. Usually the connections between computers in a network are made using physical wires or cables. However, some connections are wireless, like at our home when we use our gadgets and we connect with the internet using the Wi-Fi. Wi-Fi is actually using radio waves and infrared signals. Wi-Fi is actually radio waves, and sometimes back there was direct file transfer using infrared signals as well. So networks are not defined by only physical connections. They are defined by the ability to communicate. So connection is not enough. There must be some sort of software ability that helps computer to communicate. Computer network contains devices other than computers, like printers, can be connected directly to the network so that anyone over the network can print. Networks also contain a variety of devices for handling network traffic, like firewalls, routers, wireless access points at home, things like that. So we use a general term host to refer to any device over the network. Any device over the network, which is especially a computer, is basically the host. A key issue related to computer networks is the speed with which data is moved from one network to another network. ठीक है, कर लेते हैं. तो जिस स्पीड से डाटा एक जगह से दूसरी जगह ट्रांसफर हो रहा है, वो भी इसका एक बहुत बड़ा इशू है. जैसे जैसे हम आगे बढ़ते जा रहे हैं, वी आर कॉन्स्टेंटली इंक्रीजिंग आवर डिमांड ऑफ नेटवर्क स्पीड. तो हम उतनी ज्यादा डिमांड कर रहे हैं कि हमारे पास डाटा जो है वो ज्यादा आए और ज्यादा स्पीड से आए, क्योंकि हमारी डिमांड में मूवीज भी शामिल होती चली जा रही हैं और मल्टीमीडिया कंपोनेंट्स such as audio and video are basically a large contribution over the networks nowadays. So what is local area network? So what is LAN? What is the local area network? So the first thing, a local area network connects network devices over a relatively shorter distance. ठीक है? A network, maybe a networked office building, एक school में or home that is having a single local area network. जब हमारे घरों में network होता है Wi-Fi वाला, उस एक local area network होता है, वो हमारे सिर्फ घर के अंदर होता है. तो उसको जो है वो हम कहेंगे कि ये शॉर्टर डिस्टेंस पर है, ठीक है। इन टीसीपी आईपी नेटवर्किंग की टर्म्स, local area network, it is a network over a shorter distances, and then TCP/IP. In TCP/IP networking, this is a way of networking. A LAN is often, but not always, use physical connections. It always use Ethernet wires, Ethernet cables. So जो हम cables use करते हैं उनको local area network में उनको हम ईथरनेट केबल्स टर्म करते हैं. So what is a LAN? A local area network connects devices over a relatively short distance. A networked office building, maybe a home, a school, hospital, ये सारे जो है वो local area network में आते हैं. मतलब आप इसको इस तरह समझें कि आप जहाँ पर जाके खुद पकड़ सकते हो वो local area network में आता है. तो जो TCP/IP है, अभी हम पढ़ चुके हैं TCP/IP. TCP/IP networking, a LAN is often but not always use physical connections between the nodes. Each computer and printer and scanner, whatever is over the local area network, is called node. बल्कि वो sometimes जो है वो Ethernet cables भी use करते हैं. Now, why are LANs used? Why are LANs used? LAN is used depending on the application that is needed. Maybe you want to share the Wi-Fi connection, so you have got one sole purpose कि हमारे घर में जितनी भी devices हैं सब Wi-Fi से जो है वो connect हो जाए. Using LAN for an entire company that is spread all over the world, that is not practical. But if it is, however, where LAN becomes useful is when it allows to a certain number of computers to connect, to get connected, which belong to the same network and the same company. तो इस तरह का सिलसिला हो सकता है. So, this allows LAN to become more accessible and become a quicker way for the communication. ठीक है ना, छोटी छोटी जगहों पर हम तेजी से communicate कर सकते हैं. And there is no chance of delay since the distances are shorter, communication is private, traffic is less, so there are shorter delays. Although this is not to say a user cannot experience delay, though delay तो होते, मतलब अगर कोई एक यूजर जो है वो एक दूर वाले कंप्यूटर पे मूवी लगा के बैठ जाए और उसको देखना शुरू कर दे तो वो इतना मूवी का डाटा आएगा उस वायर पे कि दूसरों को डिले फील होने लगेगा. ठीक है. और दूसरा ये कि as the number of computers increase on a certain LAN, the speed of the resulting connection begins to become diluted. Speed slow होने लगती है with the passage of time. When the number of computers grow, obviously the traffic grows. So now topologies. The shape of a network topology is the shape of the network and relationship between the nodes. कि एक नेटवर्क में कितने कंप्यूटर्स हैं और वो किस तरीके से आपस में कनेक्ट हुए हुए हैं. So the shape of a network and the relationship between the nodes in that network is said to be the network topology. The network topology determines what kind of functions and network works. Means the network topology determines what kind of functions the network can perform and what is the quality of communication between the nodes. So जो दो topologies हैं best which are known to us and these are in demand in our syllabus are the bus topology अच्छा, in bus topology, there is a single cable and all of the computers are connected over this table, over this cable. At the end, we have got end connectors. These are all nodes. And there is just one wire over which all the computers are connected. You may show it like this. Whatever, there is one central wire which is connecting all the computers. That wire might be going through whole office, whole home, whole computer lab. This is just one single wire. So bus topology is a specific kind of network topologies in which all of the various devices in the network are connected to a single cable or line. That is it. One way to think about a bus topology is that the line connected to all of the devices or nodes in the network is like an easel along which a signal travels in order to find a node to which it has to deliver the data. So let's say if the data started going from there, so this data will travel and will go to every computer, and only the computer which is basically the target computer, the destination computer will accept the data and rest will reject it. All right. So that is how it works. So one way to think about bus topology is that the line connected to all of the devices or nodes in the network is like an easel along which a signal travels in order to find the node to which it is to be delivered. That is very simple. Typically, the cable in the bus topology has two end terminals. So these are end terminals. Obviously, there is one single wire, so दो ही end terminals होंगे. That dampen the signal so that it does not keep moving from one end of the network to the other. All right. So when the signal reaches to these end terminals, they just block it. In a bus network, every station receives all the network traffic. I told you about it. सही है जब डेटा यहाँ से चलता है तो सबके पास पहुँचता है जिसको जरूरत होती है that accepts and rest will reject. All right. Every station, every computer receives all the network traffic, and the traffic generated by each station has equal transmission priority. Means every single computer sends the data out without considering that others would have also sent it. So there is a high rate of data collision. Bus topologies are often valued for their simplicity and lower cost of implementation. However, one drawback is that if the central line is damaged, let's say if it is damaged somewhere over here, then half of the computers will work and half of the computers won't be able to work. All right. One drawback is that if the central line is damaged, the entire network will go down. As in, not all the computer will be able to communicate with each other. Also, it can be difficult to troubleshoot these kind of systems, and problems like data signal loss can occur with a longer cable. Sometimes this cable is also referred to as backbone cable. So since let's say if there's an office 200 के अंदर कंप्यूटर है, ऐसे केबल जा रही है, हर कंप्यूटर से होती हुई जा रही है, कालीन के नीचे से जा रही है, फर्नीचर के नीचे से जा रही है, दीवारों में पीछे से जा रही है, फर्नीचर के पीछे है, दीवारों पे लगी हुई है, एक ही केबल है, पूरे ऑफिस में घूम रहे हैं. देयर आर 200 कंप्यूटर्स. तो कहीं से वो केबल टूटती है, ब्रेक होती है, कहीं पे डेटा लॉस आता है, तो उसको तलाश करना मुश्किल हो जाता है, भाई है कहाँ, इस तरीके से. ऑलराइट, that is how it works. bus topology. So bus topology is when we have all the computers connected to only one of the cable. The second one is star topology. It's something like this. There is one central something, all the computers, all the nodes are actually connected to that central one. And let's say if there is a switch, then let's say a computer here, maybe a computer here, maybe a cell phone there. They all are connected to this one single device. Or maybe let's say there is a printer as well. This is a printer, by the way. Take. So this might be a switch, might be a hub or something, but everything over the network is connected to this. So yeah. All right, so this is said to be the star topology, when all of the devices are having their own wires and they all are connected to a central switch. So star topology is a network topology where each individual piece of a network is attached to a central node. Central node, often it is called a switch or hub. A switch or hub. The attachment of these network pieces to the central component is visually represented in the form of a star, but it is not actually a star. The wire may be coming in from anywhere. All right, but the central node thing makes it a star. So, unlike bus topology, where nodes were connected to a central cable, here all the workstations are connected to a central device with a point-to-point connection. Means from here in here, there's a point-to-point connection. If this cable breaks, this might bring down the whole bus topology, but if this cable breaks, it will only bring down this computer and rest of the computers will keep working. So it can be said that every computer is indirectly connected to every other node through the switch or hub. So if the data will go from this computer to this computer, it will be indirectly connected using this switch. All the data on the star topology passes through the central device, no matter what, before reaching to the intended destination. Hub acts as a junction that connects different nodes. Hub acts as a junction that connects different nodes. And at the same time, it manages and controls whole of the network depending which central device is used. If it is hub, अगर ये hub है, तो it acts like a repeater or signal booster, means every data from the device will go to every other device. But if it is switch, then only the device which is the intended destination will receive the data. All right, depending on which central device is used, hub can act as a repeater or signal booster. Central device can also communicate with other hubs of the different networks. So Ethernet cable is often used to connect workstations to the central node. So it means that there might be other local area networks in the vicinity, and these hubs are connected. All right, so that makes this a bigger star topology. So an example of a star topology is a radio station where a single antenna transmit data directly to many other radios. If there are n number of nodes in a star topology connection, the connecting lines between the nodes should be n minus 1. All right. Now, what are the advantages and disadvantages? What are the advantages and disadvantages? As compared to bus technology, this star gives far much better performance. Signals don't necessarily get transmitted to all network stations. A sent signal reaches the intended destination after passing through no more than 3 to 4 devices and 2 to 3 links. Performance of the network is dependent on the capacity of the central hub. Central hub में जितना ज़्यादा data pass हो सकता है, network की speed उतनी ज़्यादा या कम हो सकती है. अगर हमारे पास जो central hub या switch है, अगर वही इतना ताकतवर नहीं है कि ज़्यादा data को deal कर सके, तो मसला हो जाता है. Otherwise ऐसा कुछ नहीं है. So data की speed is all dependent on. You might have heard of this Ethernet gigabit switch. So means that much data can pass through it. Easy to add and remove network components. अगर ये bus topology होती है ना, so it is becoming very hard in bus topology to add and remove network component because you would have to cut the line, put a T connector और फिर वो सब कुछ. यहाँ पर ऐसा नहीं होता. And the best advantage is failure of one node or link doesn't affect the rest of the networks. At the same time, it is easy to detect fault and troubleshoot it. Now, what are the disadvantages? Obviously, pehla disadvantage yoga it is expensive. Star topology is expensive. And there is too much dependency on central device that is having its own drawbacks. What if this central device switch and hub gone wrong, gone rogue, maybe there is a fault in it or whatever. So if it fails, then whole network goes down. The inclusion of hub, router or switch increases the overall cost of the network as well, obviously. Performances as well as capacity of the network is dependent on the central device. So this is the disadvantage. It is expensive and the central device dependency is very high. So after this, let's talk about wireless networks. So ये तो सारे wires थे. Working with wireless networks. So a wireless network serves the same purpose as the wired one, to link a group of computers. That is the purpose of this wireless network. Because of wireless, it doesn't require costly wiring. The main benefit is that it is generally easier, faster, and cheaper to set up. Wireless networks operate using radio frequency, a frequency within the electromagnetic spectrum associated with radio waves association. When a radio frequency current is supplied to the antenna, an electromagnetic field is created, which is able to propagate through the space. So the data goes through radio frequency. तो समझ लें कि the cornerstone of the wireless network is a device known as access point, जो आपके घर में हब नहीं रखा होता दो कानों वाला, कभी एक कान वाला. The primary job of an access point is to broadcast a wireless signal that computers can detect and they tune into it. Since wireless networks are usually connected to wired ones, आपके घर में जो केबल आ रही है तो पीछे से PTCL की या किसी और की या केबल वाले की या उसकी दूसरी केबल्स जो होती हैं वो आ रही हैं, लेकिन वो उसमें लगती हैं वायरलेस हब में, या आपके पास जो एक्सेस पॉइंट है, राउटर है, फिर उससे आपके घर में आती हैं. Since wireless networks are usually connected to wired ones, an access point also often serves as a linked device to the resources available on the wired network. So जैसे अभी मैं अपना सिस्टम चला रहा हूँ ना, तो मेरा सिस्टम wired है और बाकी घर में जितने भी लोग हैं इंक्लूडिंग मेरी जो पोर्टेबल डिवाइसेस हैं वो सारी की सारी वायरलेस पे चल रही हैं. So this central device, which is access point, can work as wired or as well as wireless network. So in order to connect to an access point and join the wireless network, computer must be equipped with wireless network adapter. That is a device that helps you to connect to the Wi-Fi. Since the networks are wireless, speed and range of the network may vary according to the technology behind it. आपने सुना होगा wireless जब हम Wi-Fi करते हैं तो Wi-Fi A, B, G, N. So higher the character, more the data that you can transfer using these. So since the networks are wireless, speed and range of the network may vary according to the technology which is being used. And in order to prevent unwanted users from connecting to the network, we need some sort of security. And that security is only the encryption. All right. So you can only connect to a network if it is properly encrypted and secured. तो हमारे पास secured networks होते हैं हमारे. जब भी हम WAP या WEP आपने सुना होगा, ये WPA और WEP, तो ये जो है वो नेटवर्क सिक्योरिटी के प्रोटोकॉल्स हैं जो हमारा यूजर नेम पासवर्ड लेने के बाद हमारा डाटा एनक्रिप्ट करके नेटवर्क के ऊपर ट्रांसफर करते हैं ताकि कोई उसमें हैकिंग नहीं कर सके. Now, hardware. Networking hardware. So the first one is switch. So a network switch is a device that connects devices together over a computer network. Like this, I told you that this is a switch. This is a switch. Okay. By using packet switching. So switch is always using packet switching to receive, process, and forward data to the destination device. Unlike less advanced network hubs, a network switch forwards data only to one or multiple devices that need to receive it. So hub is like an extension. Whatever the data it receives, it passes on to all of the nodes. But switch is a smart hub, sort of, which only transmits the data to the devices which are basically waiting for the data. Other devices do not receive it. So a network switch forwards data only to one or more devices that need to receive it, rather than broadcasting the same data out of each of its ports like hub to every other device. Ethernet switches are the most common type. Mainstream Ethernet switches, like those inside broadband routers, जो हमारे घर में routers लगे हुए हैं, support speed up to 1 gigabit per second, as in 1 billion bits per second. A switch uses hardware addresses to process and forward the data to the target computer. Every computer जो हम इस computer इस्तेमाल करते हैं, हर computer के अंदर एक MAC card होता है, उसका एक address होता है, तो ये MAC card के addresses के साथ काम करता है और किसने भेजा है, कहाँ जा रहा है, ये उस पे काम करता है इस तरीके से. And the second one is servers. So switch hub. So switch only transfers the data to the devices which are intended for it. Hub transfers the data to every other device. Switch is intelligent hub, but they both are the central part of any star topology. All right, and then servers. So a server is a computer or device on a network that provides data to other computers on the same network. They also manage network resources. For example, file server. सारे network की फाइलें जो होंगी वो file server पे होंगी. They also manage network resources. ठीक है? Many type of servers exist. Each type runs software specific to the purpose of the software. Email server, file server, print server, database server, or the network server. So file server is a computer which store data, manages hard disk and all. Any user on the network can store files on the server, but with their own username and password. Print server, a computer that manages printers. Network server, a computer that manages network traffic. Database server. So these servers might be network server, database server, file server, email server, internet server, print server, any means these servers are managing resources over the network and they are providing these resources to other computers over the network. Servers are often dedicated, meaning they are to perform no other task but the task that is given to them. While server software is specific to the type of server, the hardware is not as important. In fact, a regular desktop computer can be turned into server by adding appropriate software. For example, a computer connected to home network can be designed as a file server, print server, or both. आपकी नेट में सॉरी आपकी लैब में अगर हम एक कंप्यूटर के ऊपर प्रिंटर लगा दें और सारे कंप्यूटर उस कंप्यूटर को प्रिंटर पे प्रिंट भेजने के लिए डेटा भेजें, तो दैट कंप्यूटर विल बिकम द प्रिंट सर्वर. While any computer can be configured as a server, most large businesses use rack-mounted hardware. Rack-mounted hardware, अगर आप नेट पे सर्च करेंगे ना तो आपको नजर आ जाएगी. Racks बने हुए होते हैं, उनके अंदर लगे हुए होते हैं. This hardware is designed specifically for server functionality. These systems often take up minimal space. इसमें हमें बहुत ज़्यादा मॉनिटर की जरूरत नहीं. तो बहुत सारे CPU होते हैं, जिस तरह DVD प्लेयर होता है, इस तरीके से रैक्स में माउंट हो जाते हैं और जिसको आपको चेक करना है सिर्फ उसके साथ आप मॉनिटर अटैच कर लें. These systems often take up minimal space, ठीक है, and often have useful features such as LED status lights and swappable hard disk drive bays and all. Multiple rack-mounted servers can be placed in a single rack and often share the same monitor, as I said, and input devices. Most servers are accessed remotely using remote access software. So input and output devices are often not used. So जितने भी servers हैं इनको सब हम remotely access कर सकते हैं. So while servers can run on different types of computer, it is important that the hardware is sufficient to support the demand of the server. जैसे file server है उसपे 1000 लोग जो हैं वो attach हुए हैं, तो आपको 1000 लोगों को data provide करने के लिए server की ability भी तो चाहिए, उतनी RAM चाहिए, उतनी hard disk चाहिए. For instance, let's say a web server. that runs lots of web scripts in real time, should have a fast processor and enough RAM to handle the load without slowing down. A file server should have one or more fast hard drives or SSDs, obviously, that can read and write quickly. Regardless of the type of server, a fast network connection is critical since all data flows through that one single connection. Then we have got LAN cards. LAN cards, also known as MEC, Media Access Controllers, also known as network interfacing card, NIC. So NIC is a card that physically makes the connection between the computer and the network cable. अगर आपके कंप्यूटर में NIC कार्ड लगा हुआ है तो आप उसके अंदर अपनी वायर लगाते हैं. It enables a computer to connect to a network such as home network. तो ये जितने हम वाईफाई से कनेक्ट होते हैं, अगर हमारे पास ये तार नहीं होगा, कार्ड नहीं होगा, तो हम वाईफाई से कनेक्ट नहीं हो सकते. So NIC is a card, a physical circuit that physically makes the connection between the computer and the network cables. It enables a computer to connect to a network such as home network or the internet using an Ethernet cable. Due to the popularity and low cost of the Ethernet standards are the standards that we use for local area networks. Most new computers have network interfacing card built in directly to their motherboard. So आपका जो लैपटॉप है, आपका जो डेस्कटॉप है, उसमें आपको केबल जो है ना नेटवर्क की लगाने वाली जगह मौजूद होगी. इसका मतलब है कि वो केबल लगाने वाली जगह मौजूद है, इसका मतलब है वो कार्ड भी वहां पे लगा हुआ है. This is basically an important part. Now, the last part, CSMA and CD. So this is said to be CSMA CD. This is a technology used by local area network Ethernet standards. All right. So what does it do? It is actually a, a, a method which protects data to collide over the network. So yeah, Ethernet and CSMA CD. This is what we need to understand. Ethernet and CSMA CD. Ethernet is a local area technology. Ethernet and CSMA CD. So Ethernet is a local area technology with networks traditionally operating within a single building, connecting devices in the close proximity, as it happens in local area network. At most, Ethernet devices could have only few hundred meters of cables between them, making it impractical to connect geographically. हम तो local area network पे तो नहीं कर सकते. In order for successful communication to take place between two computers on the same network, they both must understand the same protocol. So if there are two networks, as I mentioned over here, if there are these two networks, they want to be connected. So we connected it using this cable. So they have to be of the same type. So Ethernet follows a simple set of rules that govern its basic operation. To better understand these rules, in Ethernet we have got medium. Medium is the Ethernet devices attached to the common medium that provides the path along which the electronic signals will travel. So medium is the wire. It is sort of wire or wireless connection. As in It can be wire or it can be radio waves. So this is medium. Second thing is segment. So segment is basically the network. One network, like over here, this one is one segment. We refer to a single shared medium as Ethernet segment. Node, devices that attached to the segment are stations or nodes. So these are nodes. All right. And then we have got frame. So nodes are computers or printers or whatever. So then we have got frame. The node this is the data which is being transferred. So the nodes communicate in short messages, which are frames, which are in variable sizes and chunks of information. So within Ethernet, we have got medium, wired or wireless, then the whole network, a little network, which is a single network, is a segment. The node is the computer, and the frame is the data, which is of variable size data, variable size data. All right. Frames are analog, means this data is not digital. Frames are analog so that it could be easily transferred over the copper wire. All right. So frames are like sentences in English, as in syntax, the grammar. So they are arranged accordingly. This is the frames are made as per the grammar of the network. So single data transfer, which might be of variable size, like the sentences that we deliver. So this would be of different size. We know that each sentence must contain a subject and a predicate. So the Ethernet protocol specifies a set of rules for constructing the frames as well. Anyways, no two Ethernet devices should ever have the same address. So addresses must be different, and every LAN card in the world has a different address. Since a signal on the Ethernet medium reaches every attached node, the destination address is critical to identify the intended recipient of the frame. So frame has got uh, origination and destination addresses. Every single node checks the frame, and if frame is intended for that node, then it takes it, otherwise it discards it. All right. One interesting thing about Ethernet addressing is the implementation of a broadcast address. Broadcast is when you, regardless of what that you want, you just send the signal out to every other node. That is broadcasting. आप किसी एक को नहीं भेज रहे, सबको भेज रहे हैं. A frame with a destination address equal to the broadcast address is intended for every node over the network, and every node will both receive and process this type of frame. So frames can be for particular nodes or for all nodes. Now CSMA CD. This is basically an acronym, a short form for carrier sensing, carrier sensing, or carrier sense is better. Carrier sense multiple access with collision detection. Carriers sense multiple access with collision detection. This is what it means. Carriers sense multiple access with collision detection. Now, basically, what happens when all the nodes over the network send the data might collide. जैसे हम सारे एक टेबल पे बैठे हैं अम्मी अब्बू के साथ और बात कर रहे हो, तो इस तरह कुछ होगा कि हम बात कर रहे हो और एकदम से अब्बू भी बोले और हम भी बोल पड़े, तो उसमें क्या होता है कि एकदम से दोनों चुप हो जाते हैं. हम ये एक्सपेक्ट करते हैं बीइंग एल्डर अब्बू पहले बोलेंगे, ठीक है, और फिर हम थोड़ा सा रुके, हमने देखा अब्बू नहीं बोले, हम फिर बोले, उसी वक्त अब्बू दोबारा बोल पड़े, तो फिर रुक गए. तो अगर दोस्त होते हैं तो कहते हैं नहीं आप बोले, नहीं वो कहते नहीं आप बोले. तो इस तरीके से नेटवर्क पे भी होता है, जब बहुत सारे फ्रेम्स एक साथ चलना शुरू होते हैं ना, तो what basically happens, devices when they found out that the frames are collided, so every single device just throw their frames, and then the device which originally sent the frame वो क्या करती है फिर दोबारा थोड़ी देर के बाद भेजती है. तो क्या करती है सारी डिवाइसेस कैरियर सेंस मल्टीपल एक्सेस में कि ओवर द सेगमेंट वो चेक करती रहती है कोई डाटा तो नहीं आ रहा. जब डाटा नहीं आ रहा तो उसमें अपना डाटा डालती है, लेकिन हो सकता है कि बहुत सारी डिवाइसेस चेक कर रही हो, बहुत सारी डिवाइसेस अपना डाटा डालते हैं, तो उस सूरत में क्या होता है डाटा कोलाइड होता है, सारी डिवाइसेस फेंक देती है. फिर वो अपनी एक क्लॉक यूज करती हैं और रैंडम क्लॉक टिक के ऊपर डाटा भेजना शुरू करती हैं. सो दिस इज ऑल a system which makes sure that when the data is going from one node to another node, the frame is going from one node to another node, it does not collide and it reaches efficiently. So let's just revise. CSMA CD, it's an acronym. CSMA CD signifies what? Carrier sense multiple access with collision detection, and describes how the Ethernet protocol regulates communication among the nodes. While the term may seem intimidating, if we break it apart into the components, we will see the concept. That is, it describes rules very similar to those people use in polite conversations. All right. So I told you to help illustrate the operation of Ethernet. We discussed the dinner table conversation rules. So when elders are talking, we just keep quiet. And if two persons starts talking together, they both keep quiet and wait for the other to talk first. And if it happens again, then they decide that who will talk further. All right. So this is CSMA CD. Now, what basically happens when collision occurs? So carrier sense multiple access gives you a good start in regulating the transfer of the data over the network. But there is one scenario we will need to address. Let's go back to our dinner table analogy and imagine that there is a momentary pause in the conversation when two people started talking. They just got paused. You and I, let's say we are talking, both have something we would like to talk about, and we both sense the carrier based on the silence that no one is talking. So we begin speaking approximately the same time again. In Ethernet terminology, this is called collision. So in our conversation, we can handle this situation gracefully. We both hear the other speak at the same time we are speaking. So we can stop to give other person a chance to go on. Ethernet nodes also listen to the medium, the wire, which is carrying the data, while they transmit to ensure that they are the only station transmitting at that particular time. If the station here their own transmission returning in and out of order form, as would happen if some Other station had begun has begun to transmit its own message at the same time, then they know that there is a collision occurred. So what happens that they all give up their data, and then they start at the random time once again. So random pauses will actually make it happen. So let me revise. Two devices started talking. They realized that they both are talking at the same time. They both were watching their segment. They say, okay, oh, there is no data. Let's put our data. As soon as they put data, another device put the data. Data collides. They both give up their data, and every device that was intended to receive the data gives up the data. They throw it out. And then these two devices which want to send the data, what they will do, they will again start sensing the medium and they put the data. So data reaches to the destination. Let's say अगर इन दोनों ने दोबारा एक साथ data डाल दिया, तो they will use a system clock and they will actually start sending the data at the random clock ticks that will never match. And if they match, they will randomize it again. इस तरीके से कोई data जो है ना वो transfer होता है. अब let's see if we have covered the whole syllabus. So show understanding of the bus topology we have, and the implementation of how packets are transmitted between the two hosts. Host was another term. Every single node over the network is a host. Show understanding of the star topology that we have understood. Packets are transmitted between the two nodes through the switch, and switch only sends packet to the node which it intends for. Show understanding of the wireless networks, we have discussed it as well. Explain how the hardware is used to support LAN. So we discussed about switch, router, server, LAN, network interfacing card, and wireless access points. We discussed about those. Show understanding of Ethernet and how collision detection and avoidance such as CSMA CD works. So this is what the local area network is all about. अब आप देखें कि क्या आपको जो है वो समझ आया और क्या समझ नहीं आया. आपके पास जो बुक है उसको पढ़ें, और आई होप कि ये मैं आपको PDF